I really didn't want this background. I wanted the less colorful background, but it's so noisy back there, so I thought I'd sit out here. You know, I was talking to my auntie yesterday. The one I told you is like my mother, and she asked me, how do you make the videos? How do you start talking about what you talk about? And do I write? I said, no, I don't write. I talk direct from my head. And if I have a thought that's in my head long enough, then I'll put it out. Because sometimes when you're thinking about something, you're not the only one who's thinking about it. I've seen many times that I've been thinking about something, and then I would see other people start posting about it. And I was like, I was just thinking the same thing. If you haven't seen me before, I am Emily. Real stuff, real. I talk about my life experiences, and I haven't been cooking because you can't tell, but when I cook, I eat, and it's not very healthy for me, so I would do some talking. I treated myself to a matcha drink. I didn't yet purchase it, but I give thanks to myself for a matcha drink because I deleted a troll yesterday, and I'm not going to allow people to come on my channel and abuse me. I'm not. And I am very careful when I write on people's channel, when I comment. Sometimes I might even put a comment, read it, and then if I think it's not, it doesn't sound good, I delete it. And sometimes I really want to comment, and sometimes I go back and check and the comments are deleted too. And I'm like, good, maybe it's for a reason it's deleted. Having said all that, that's like, the cleaning up part. I want to talk about something. It's a follow-up from yesterday's video. And yesterday's video, I talk about tough love and criticism. And when people criticize us, we shouldn't worry about why the person is criticizing us. Because when people criticize us, there is a secondary gain. People might get upset and think to themselves, well, what secondary gain? There is some sort of secondary gain when we criticize people. If we criticize them individually, we are to motivate them to do better. When we criticize them openly for the whole world to see, there is some sort of secondary gain, okay? And that's the truth. And sometimes I want to talk about certain things, but as one creator told me one time, stay in my lane. And sometimes it's very hard when you have opinions, to share, to stay in your lane. But I try hard to stay in my lane, and I'm going to continue to try hard to stay in my lane. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. If I hear people saying something about a coworker, or I don't just jump on the bandwagon. I don't. If the person didn't do anything to me, I can't say anything. I cannot feel what you feel. So I'm not going to be, like I did a video before talking about drinking bush tea for other people's fever. I'm not going to not like the person because you don't like the person. I'm not that type of person. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, and until there is no more doubt, okay? But what I want to really talk about today is I am who I am today because of the tough love I received growing up. But I want to say this. When you know people are talking about you in such a manner, and I talk about that, you listen to the criticism, and you analyze, and you go into yourself, into your soul, and you say to yourself, am I really doing that? And you look at it from all angles. See what the person is saying, or see what the people are saying. And then he said, maybe I can make a difference. Maybe I need to stop doing that, or maybe I'm not going to do that again. And how can I prevent myself from doing what I'm doing, why people are talking about me in such a manner? You know, the reason I delete trolls from my channel, and many times I think the trolls who go on my channel are people who know me and want to trigger me into some sort of bait me. Remember I did that video, don't be baited? Yeah, they want to bait me into ranting, and I'm not going to take the bait. So if you know people are like talking about you in such a manner, it's negative, and you think that negative talking about you is like, what I was gonna say, it's like any exposure is exposure. So even if you get a negative exposure is exposure. I personally don't want negative exposure. I don't. I am not saying that I'm perfect and someone might not have something to say about me. But if I know people are intentionally talking about me in a negative way, I'm going to try to fix it, because that's not what I want to be for people to see me as, especially when we talk about a role model. What kind of role model do we want to be? Do we want to be the role model for twerkers? Do we want to be role model for being a bully? Do we want to be a role model for not taking accountability for our actions? What kind of role model do we want to be? And that's what I ask myself a lot of times. What kind of role model do I want to be? You know, I have children, and I'm going to have grandchildren, and in years to come, what kind of role model I'm going to be when people see, you know, oh, well, your grandmother was such and such and such, things of that nature. So the reason I say is tough love and criticism made me who I am today, because I'm like, okay, so this is how you feel about me? I'm going to do better for myself. You don't treat me like if I'm worthy of good treatment. I'm going to treat myself better. I'm going to educate myself. I'm going to save my money. I'm going to have my own. So I fix myself in a way that I don't make them talk about me and criticize me and continue to criticize me in the most negative way, because I know after a time my mother couldn't say anything about me. Nothing. I mean, what could she even forgot what she was saying about me, that I was ugly. My lips were too big for my face. If my lips were smaller, like my little sister, I would be pretty. But because my lips were big, I wasn't pretty. So, and you had to learn all these kind of things. When I look at myself, I'm so pretty. Even at my age, I'm very pretty. And, you know, and then I learned too that sometimes people say things to you and they don't understand what they're doing. You might think I'm not pretty by one view, but I have a prettiness inside me that people can see, that my prettiness or my beauty can glow. And you know, it's funny what people say, and they don't realize what they're saying about you. But it's you to fix it. It's you to say, okay, they're saying this about me. I'm going to show them. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to fix myself so I can be different. Because sometimes when we're doing something, we're wrong. We're not really looking at it we're not really looking at the big picture. And you know they're saying that they say sometimes who's outside can see better, more inside of how the story really not what it looks like, but what it really is. So if someone is criticizing you, if someone is talking about you in a negative way, you don't have to let them continue to talk about you in that negative way. You can fix it. You can stop doing certain things. I don't understand. I'm not sure if I'm saying the right thing, if I'm saying it so that people can understand. But for the young people, even for grown people, if you know that you're doing things that's not pleasing or people are complaining about it, get a pen and paper, write it down. Well, they say, I'm doing this, 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 I'm doing this. And you have to accept accountability. I always give this story about the husband and the wife. If the husband comes home every evening and he drops his shoes in front of the door, he drops his briefcase at the door, and the wife has to come around and pick it up every time, he's not going to understand that this cannot happen until he accepts accountability and said, I shouldn't be doing this. I should put my briefcase on the table. I should put my shoes in the closet, or however it be. If we don't accept accountability for our actions, it means that we're not willing to change. And too many times, I've seen it, I've experienced it, where somebody did something to me, and when I openly talk about it, they make fun of me. They shine all the light on me as if I was who? What? And like if I was the bad person. You did something to me that I talk about, and then you try to turn it on me like if I'm the bad person. You're not accepting accountability. And if you're not accepting accountability for your actions, it means that you're not willing to change. But first, for you to be able to accept accountability, you have to understand what you're doing wrong. What am I doing wrong? Get a pen and paper, write it down. What am I doing wrong? This is what I'm doing wrong. This is wrong what I'm doing. I have to fix it. That's accountability. First, you have to identify the problem. The problem is what you're doing wrong. What am I doing wrong? The next thing you have to do is take accountability and say, yes, I'm doing that. I'm doing wrong. What I'm doing is wrong. And until you get to that part and said, what I'm doing is wrong, and accept accountability, not until then, you're going to change. And if you don't want to accept accountability, it means that you're entitled, you're a brat, you're a thief, you're a scammer, or whatever falls in line next, that's what you are. But accept accountability first. Don't blame people, because now you're in a problem and you put yourself in the hole. You did it. But you didn't want to sit down and understand. And when I realized, I will take it back to me. When I realized that my mother didn't have me as a priority, and I knew I had to figure this thing out for myself, I did some real shit. I make some real bad decisions. But in doing so, I did some things right. I didn't do everything wrong. I did some things right, but I fixed myself. If you want to fix yourself, identify what you're doing wrong, take accountability for your actions, and then you can start the repair. Real stuff. Real.